Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today we've got a 2-round mock for you, but this one's special. We've got trades. That's right. We're having some people move in and out, making some moves, trading back, trading up to get the picks, having a little fun here as the NFL Draft is quickly approaching. And don't forget, we're going to be here live for the NFL Draft. Night 1, Night 2. Join us here on the YouTube channel. Subscribe. Ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications, so you can make us your second screen experience for all things NFL Draft, because we're watching the draft the way you're watching the draft. For your fantasy teams, that's what it's all about. And to help us make some deals and make some picks, Pat Fitzmaurice, Andrew Erickson, and for RosterWatch and Orange Bloods, Cody Carpentier is joining us today. So we didn't have Scott Bogman to talk about Texas Longhorns, so maybe we've got Cody here to throw a couple things our way from Texas. We'll see how it goes, but let's kick things off here. Let's start with the clock. It is on. The Tennessee Titans are up at bat. And Cody, since you're our guest, you get to make this first pick.
Man, the first overall pick, it feels like it's been a lock for the better part of, I don't know. To me, it's been a better part of 2 months, but it's been for sure maybe about a week and a half since that Miami Hurricanes Pro Day. When we came out of there, it was all things Cam Ward to the Titans. They got their last look. Mike Borgonzi, the new GM for the Titans, got his last look in at Cam Ward. When you came out of there, everything was more so shifted towards who's going to be number 2 to the Cleveland Browns. And then within hours, the Giants go out and get a quarterback in Russell Wilson, give him another contract. So now they have Jameis and Russell Wilson. I think it's just Cam Ward here to the Tennessee Titans. I think it's locked up, and the key has been in the trash can for the better part of a week.
Now, I've asked everybody whenever we get a guest, because I already know what all the guys here in-house think. But what are your thoughts on Cam Ward here? Most consensus thought right now is that a good prospect, toolsy guy, certainly things you can build upon and develop in the right situation. I don't know if Tennessee's the right situation. That's for you to tell me. But also, a lot of people saying that if this was another year, this would not be a number 1 overall pick. So do you think the Titans are settling here, or are they just getting the best of what's available? And is this going to be an improvement on what they've had?
I think in an ideal situation, you try to get off of this pick if you're the Tennessee Titans, just because you look at where the team's at. But because of the draft that they're in, yeah, you can consider Hunter, you can consider Carter. But as a quarterback, I think Ward validates a first-round grade, have a first-round grade on him. But it's not in reality a number 1 pick, a number 2 pick. I mean, if you compare it to last year, because that's the easiest thing to go back to for me, he's right into that JJ McCarthy territory. When you put these 2 classes together as far as grades, to me, it's JJ McCarthy, then it's Cam Ward, then it's Michael Penix. So I think he warrants like a top 10 consideration. Number 1's a little bit of a stretch. I love the arm talent that Cam Ward has. I think he's grown immensely since Incarnate Ward, since Washington State. He's a leader in the room. They talk about him as a dog and a leader in that Miami room with him being there for weeks. So I like Cam Ward. Don't love him. I'm a toolsy guy though, right? I liked Patrick Mahomes. I like Malik Willis. Like you got these ebbs and flows. I liked Will Levis. You miss on some, you hit on some. That's what comes with the projection at the quarterback position.
All right, Erickson, you're a toolsy guy. You're up at 2 here for the Cleveland Browns.
I'm going to go with Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State. So it will not be a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I don't know. Ever since the process started for me in Cleveland, I don't know if they've ever been like so in love with Shedeur Sanders where we have to take this guy too. I feel like they may go the veteran route. It seems like Kirk Cousins going to the Browns. Just a matter of when the Falcons are willing to pick up the phone to take the call from the Cleveland Browns. He's going to be on the Browns, and they roll the dice with maybe Shedeur falling and they trade back up into the first round to try to get him, or they take a different rookie quarterback. So for this mock, I'm going to go with the edge rusher. Now they have him and Myles Garrett. So they may not have the best offense, but they're going to have a very, very scary defense with those
Cousins
two guys.
On the Browns. How uninspiring. Congratulations, Cleveland Browns fans. You did it again. Pat Fitzmaurice, let's get you on the clock here for the Giants. Now, they've signed a bunch of quarterbacks, but Shedeur is still on the board.
And they are going to take Shedeur, Joe. Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are a 2-piece Band-Aid. Not a viable long-term solution at quarterback. I'm into Shedeur. Not everyone is. I love how accurate he is, how quick the release is, his timing, anticipation, how tough he is. Personally, I would rather have Shedeur than Cam Ward, but that's clearly not the way most people feel. And if I were Giants GM Joe Schoen, I would take my quarterback of the future here, but this might be a lame duck regime. So I don't know if that's what the Giants are going to do in reality. Drafting Shedeur would be an investment in the future, and I think Joe Shane might be more focused on the near term, but we'll find out soon.
Maybe. I would think those guys are more like the Band-Aids you get at elementary school from the nurse. And the minute it gets wet at all and you wash your hands, it completely falls off. Like, it just probably immediately after you leave the office. Let's get to the Patriots. We're up next at 4. But, oh, my goodness. Wait a minute. I'm hearing in the earpiece right now. We have a trade on the table here. Cody, this is your pick here for the New England Patriots at 4. But it looks like Dallas wants to move up. So let's talk about this deal they're presenting to you, Cody, and if you're going to take it and move up and let Pat and the Dallas Cowboys make this pick at 4.
I'm thinking about it. I got to move back 8 spots to 12. I could really use a cornerback right here. I got Christian Gonzalez. I could also really use, 1A, 1B with Stephon Diggs at receiver. I'm thinking about this Travis Hunter thing here, but it looks like I can move back 8 spots. I can add a second-round pick next year. I think I'll let Pat take this one with Dallas and spice this thing up.
All right, Pat. So you move up here with the Cowboys. New England gets a 112 pick, a 212 pick, and then 628, and then a 2026 second rounder from Dallas. So a lot of pieces here. New England being New England, moving out, which makes me sad. But here you go. Dallas is moving up to make this move for who, Pat Fitzmaurice?
Travis Hunter, cornerback / wide receiver, Colorado. Look, this is a steep price to pay for the Cowboys to move up. But Travis Hunter is the best player in this draft, I believe. And he can be impactful on both sides of the ball. So it's like getting 2 picks in one almost. Deron Bland is going into the final year of his contract. And Trayvon Diggs isn't really a shutdown guy. So Travis Hunter is really going to bolster the coverage. And on the other side of the ball, Hunter is going to give us another big play threat and ease the burden on CeeDee Lamb. Welcome to Dallas, Travis Hunter.
All right, so a big move here from Big D moving up to take Travis Hunter. I can hear the YouTube comments already. Let's go to 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Andrew Erickson, you're on the clock.
Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. I just think that when you're looking at best player available, it's Carter and Hunter as the top 2, and I think Mason Graham is 3. So that's who I'm going to go with for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, Pat, we're going to go back to you here for the Las Vegas Raiders at 6.
Armand Membou, offensive tackle, Missouri. The Raiders are going to bolster their offensive line rather than take the stud running back. A buddy of mine who went to Missouri told me late last year that he thought Membou might end up being a first-round pick. Not only was my buddy right about that, but it looks like Membou is going to be a top 10 pick now. I think the betting over-under on his draft position is 6.5 right now. And, the film on Membou is just terrific, and then he crushed it at the scouting combine. So I think the excitement is warranted.
All right, Cody, that puts you up with the Jets at pick number 7.
Yeah, man, I felt a little bit sniped here as the Jets GM. The 6.5 number for Armand Membou's nails because I think Membou's either a Raider or a Jet, no matter which way the apple falls from the tree. So 7 here for the Jets with no tackle available. I could have thought about Kelvin Banks to play left, Will Campbell potentially, but I'm just going to give Justin Fields a check down target. He's got Garrett Wilson already. Alan Lazard's like the next best receiver with Malachi Corley. Give him something that can create, and that is Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, that many have comped, I don't know, aggressively to Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, I think the Gronk comp is a little aggressive. There's only one Gronk at the end of the day. But another big weapon for Fields, too. I think Fields might be in a position to succeed, at least from a fantasy perspective. How many wins they get, tough division. We'll figure that out later. We're just here to make picks. Next up here at 8, the Carolina Panthers. Andrew Erickson, back to you.
I'm going to go with the defensive side of the ball because Carolina had the worst defense, arguably in NFL history last year. So Mykel Williams, as they're going to take a play out of the Eagles playbook, where they're going to just draft guys from Georgia. And it's worked pretty well for them. So Mykel Williams, edge.
Yeah, it's worked all right for the Eagles, too. Number 9, the New Orleans Saints, Pat Fitzmaurice.
So many needs here. Thought about maybe trying to trade down, but we're going to take Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan. I think maybe if he had come out like after 2023, I don't know if he could have. But like, I think he might have been a top 5 pick then. His stock has maybe dropped a little bit. Like, I still think he is, if you're looking for big outside cornerback, he is the first non-Travis Hunter option in this class.
Next up here, we have the Chicago Bears at the 10 pick. Cody, that belongs to you.
The Bears have had a phenomenal offseason so far, adding Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson on the interior. To me, there's one hole left in the Bears build, and it's not running back and it's not tight end. It's left tackle. So I'm going to go ahead and take the left tackle out of Texas, Kelvin Banks, you talked about him a year ago. He's a top 5 pick projected. He's a guy that didn't show up to campus until June, July of his freshman season, and he started 12 games during his freshman season, including week 2 against Will Anderson, where he just allowed 1 pressure. Guy won the Outland Award trophy this last year, the Lombardi Award trophy for the best lineman in the college football. We haven't heard his name nearly enough. He's going to end up being a top 10 pick. And the Chicago Bears completely revamped their offensive line in one offseason. Kelvin Banks, Texas.
Kelvin Banks, really good player. So let's continue on here. The offensive line much better too. Cody, do you really think though that you get DeAndre Swift on this Ben Johnson team as the starting running back though? I mean, they did pass on Jeanty here in order to take Banks, which I understand why.
My theory behind this is that they pick at 39 and 41. If you don't move up, you just sit there at 39-41 and you get your pick of potentially a Quinshon Judkins, a Caleb Johnson, something like this. Right. I think the Bears are in prime position to draft a running back later.
Yeah, it's a deep class too. So let's see how it unfolds. Maybe they move some of this capital they've got in round 2 to move back in. We'll find out. You got to keep watching. That's the only way. Next up here is the New England Patriots. So I'm sorry. We are at 11. San Francisco 49ers are up next. So Erickson, back to you here. 49ers could use a lot of help in a lot of spots right now. So where do they go first?
Yeah, they lost a lot of guys during free agency, either based on contracts they couldn't pay players. I'm looking at the offensive line. Again, if they're going to pay Brock Purdy to be their franchise quarterback, well, then you better pay for some protection. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much money they have, so let's do it in the draft. Trent Williams, I believe he's 37 years old, so he's not getting any younger. So let's get a established left tackle, Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU for me to the 49ers.
Now the Patriots are up at 12 after moving back here. So tough scenario because you love to get a tackle if you're the Patriots. Banks is gone. Campbell's gone 2 in a row. Cody, what's the pivot now at 12?
Yeah, this is the price you pay to move down in a draft from 4 to 12. You kind of miss out on the positions of need, which we talked about before. Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. All 3 of the tackles that you're coveting are off the board now. We're going to go ahead and take Jalen Walker, the linebacker / edge rusher from Georgia. We're looking at Abdul Carter, like I said. The next best thing after him does come down to Jalen Walker. Add him to the opposite side of Harold Landry, and let's get nasty on this New England defense.
All right, Cody, you're back up again with the Miami Dolphins, and I have to imagine you're going the offensive line with this first pick.
Yeah, man, I know they added James Daniels, who's a guy that was in Pittsburgh for a couple of years, Chicago for a couple of years, but he's not a stud. Tyler Booker, the interior offensive lineman from Alabama, is a stud. He's a leader. He's one of the best interviews in this entire draft class. He goes to the Miami Dolphins, plugs in on day 1, left or right guard. This guy will dominate in the run game.
That brings us to the Indianapolis Colts at 14. Andrew Erickson, you're on the clock.
I'm going to go with a pass-catching tight end, Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. We got to find a way to help Anthony Richards out with some easy check down options. Maybe it'll be Daniel Jones's number 1 tight end target, but the Colts tight end 4-man committee has to stop. It stops here in this draft with the tight end. So whether it's Warren, whether it's Loveland, they need to come out of this draft. Very talent-rich tight end class, but I like Colston Loveland a lot. He's my tight end 1 in this class. So
it's been a while since the days of Dallas Clark. That's all I can tell you. Next up here at 15, the Atlanta Falcons, Pat Fitzmaurice.
Mike Green, edge from Marshall. Falcons were 31st in sacks and 25th in pressure rate last year. They absolutely need to get a pass rusher here. And, this draft does have a lot of Trayvon Walker types who weren't necessarily that productive in college, but have a lot of potential. Mike Green had an FBS high 17 sacks last year. Then he went out and dominated at the Senior Bowl. So I think they're pretty happy to get Mike Green here.
All right, that brings us to the Arizona Cardinals at 16. Cody, you're back up.
This one, I know people are going to say, man, this guy, you talk about Texas before the show happens. He works for Orange Bloods. I didn't go to Texas. I'm not a homer. I have no attachments here. But I will tell you, one selection that caught me off guard when I made it in this draft was Matthew Golden to the Arizona Cardinals. You look at what Arizona has done so far. Zay Jones, they bring in Zay Jones. Does that really scare you in the wide receiver position? They have Michael Wilson there, who I really respect, but he's not a wide receiver 2 in the NFL. He's kind of proven that. Greg Dortch, they love in the slot. But outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., they need something that can stretch the field, that can be a flanker, that has great catch radius. Matthew Golden from Texas is that guy. All of a sudden, for Kyler Murray, this offense looks potent with Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and Matthew Golden.
Well, first off, they're used to Scott Bogman being here every day, so any Texas Longhorn pick is not going to faze this audience at all. But, to the point of them getting Golden here, who I love, he's one of my favorite wide receivers. Everybody here knows that. The landing spot, I kind of question. I'm a little worried from a fantasy perspective because I was very big in Marvin Harrison last year and it was not thrilling. I'm hoping the sophomore season is better, but do you think we have a situation now where 2 years in a row we get these big time wide receivers going to the Cardinals and them underwhelming potentially in whatever this offense is currently?
Really what this tells me is I know we've gotten a lot of conversations about Tetairoa, McMillan, Matthew Golden, top 10, top 12, going to the Cowboys, going to all these situations. But when you really take a step back and look at this entire wide receiver class, there is no true number one alpha receiver. As much as people are propping up Golden, propping up Tetairoa, McMillan, neither of them are Jamar Chase. Neither of them are Malik Neighbors. Neither of them are true number ones. And so when you think about Matthew Golden in this role, I think of like a Jordan Addison, who's a really good receiver, was a first round pick, but playing with Justin Jefferson. So I like Golden a lot. Don't get me wrong. I like Tetairoa. I like Luther Burden. I like all these guys, but none of them are true number one. So yes, for fantasy football, this really does hurt your dynasty value for rookie picks. It hurts at all of it from a fantasy football perspective for Golden, as well as probably Marv a little bit, though it should allow Marv to move around the formation a little bit more.
All right, as you're trying to put your dynasty teams together, don't forget the Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator is available right now, and you can complete mock drafts in minutes with no waiting in between picks. Nobody likes to wait. Customize your league settings to match your league's exact format, and premium subscribers to Fantasy Pros can test trade scenarios by mocking with their traded draft picks. And you can prepare right now for rookie drafts and Dynasty Startup drafts in one place. Use the Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator to dominate your rookie draft today. Go to fantasypros.com/simulator to start using it and get prepared. Next up here, after the Cardinals make their pick, we're up to the Cincinnati Bengals and Andrew Erickson at 17.
Thought long and hard about, because Ashton Jeanty's still on the board and how much fun that could be for the Cincinnati Bengals. But Chase Brown stands like myself, Pat Fitzmaurice. I couldn't do that to poor old Chase Brown. So Bengals have to go defense here. They need somehow, some way to try to stop the other offense so they don't have to score 50 points per game. So Shemar Stewart, edge from Texas A&M. Hopefully he gets more sacks in the professionals than he does in the college.
Pat, that brings us to the Seattle Seahawks at 18.
They are going to take Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona. I think Seattle would be pretty happy to have Tet fall into their laps here. The top two receivers on their roster, Jaxson Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp, are guys who both do their best work in the slot. And it's possible Kupp is at the end of the road. So Seattle gets a big outside receiver to help Sam Darnold settle into his new home. And I agree with Cody. I don't know if there's a true number one receiver in this draft, but I do think Tet can be like a quality T. Higgins caliber number two receiver for a team.
I'm worried Cooper Kupp is roadkill at this point in his career, but we'll find out. 19. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold the phone. We've got another trade coming in here. So Tampa is at 19. It looks like Chicago wants to move up. I mentioned all that capital they have in round 2. Well, guess what? They're going to use some of it. So Pat Fitzmaurice, you're going to be able to make this pick. What did you have to do to move up here to 19 to give to Tampa to move up for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, the Bears are sending the Tampa Bay Buccaneers both of their second round draft picks, number 39 overall, number 41 overall, along with a fifth round pick in 2026 to acquire the 19th overall pick. So the Buccaneers out of the first round, they're going to have 3 second round picks. And with that pick, the Chicago Bears select Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State. The Bears' offensive makeover is pretty much complete. They've rebuilt their offensive line of free agency. Now they get a special running back to make Ben Johnson's offense go. And Joe, the only Super Bowl I've ever attended in person in my life was Super Bowl 32 in San Diego, where the Denver Broncos defeated my Green Bay Packers. So not only is this a great move for the Bears, it is a chance for me to screw the Denver Broncos, and I'm thrilled about it.
There you go. It's the small joys in life, after all. But what a power move here by the Bears to move up to get Jeanty, using that draft capital. And they really do have their cake and eat it, too. They get the lineman, they get Jeanty. It's a great landing spot, a great offense potentially, too, with Ben Johnson running that bad boy now. So big power moves by the Bears in that division. Now we get the Denver Broncos at 20. Erickson, now they've got a pivot. So what's the pivot point if it's not Jeanty?
Well, they'll take their next highest ranked running back, Omarion Hampton, running back from North Carolina. The Broncos have a desperate need at the running back position. Hampton can do it all. 3-down back, can run on early downs, catch passes out of the backfield. Another weapon for Bo Nix. When you look at this Broncos roster, you look at teams that add running backs in the draft, it's usually the cherry on top. And I don't see a ton of holes on this Denver Broncos roster. So finding more weapons for Bo Nix. Last year's running backs were a struggle. I love Audric Estime, but Omarion Hampton can do everything that Sean Payton wants. So that's the pick.
Okay, so 2 running backs in the first round back to back. And this is fun because, this is the first time in the modern era where every team has had their own pick in the first round. And we just said, screw that. We're going to start shuffling things around. And it's not going to be clean. And, to the point earlier, Cody, you were making about there's not an elite level quarterback or an elite level wide receiver. Maybe there are going to be a ton of trades, especially that first night, where people are making moves to move out, to get more bodies potentially, if they don't see there's too many people that can make a huge impact. So really interesting stuff here. Let's get to the Pittsburgh Steelers because they have a quarterback problem, even if they do end up with Aaron Rodgers. And as of recording this, we're still waiting on that. 21 Steelers, Pat Fitzmaurice. Is it a quarterback?
It is, Joe. It's Jaxson Dart, quarterback from Ole Miss. The Steelers just have to address QB. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, that's obviously not a long-term fix. They took a swing on a quarterback in the back half of the second round a few years ago with Kenny Pickett, but Pickett was a late-blooming one-year wonder. I can't guarantee that Jaxson Dart is going to be a quality NFL starter, but I do think he's a much better percentage play than Kenny Pickett was.
I agree 100%. Cody, what do you think about that? I think that Jaxson Dart as a prospect is far more upside that he would carry than Kenny Pickett a couple years ago. I understand why the Steelers are gun shy and the Steeler fans don't want to see a repeat of that, but I don't see the same thing with Jaxson Dart. I like him as a prospect. What do you think?
I, unlike a lot of people, kind of like the Arthur Smith offense and think that the proper quarterback in it can succeed. And when you look at what Jaxson Dart was able to do to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin and his specified offense, he excelled to a high level and excelled to his high level under pressure and without pressure and was able to push that football down the field. So you put him in Pittsburgh, and even if Rodgers is there for a year, you know what? Rodgers can have a tissy all he wants. This is Dart's job for the future. And nobody in reality is going into the season with Mason Rudolph as their QB1. So I love Dart here. And if they can keep Pickens and have Metcalf there, this thing's going to be fun.
All right. The Chargers at 22. Cody, let's stick with you for the pick.
This is an interesting one. I'll be honest with you. I was looking at running back. I didn't think Jeanty was going to fall, but I definitely was having my eyes closely on that running back from North Carolina, Omarion Hampton. So with the Chargers here in round 1, no tight end available that I want, no running back available that I want, I'm going to go ahead and take Gray Zabel, the versatile offensive lineman from North Dakota State, a guy that we saw, like Cody Mock from North Dakota State a couple of years ago, play all 5 positions down there at the Senior Bowl. He does have 32-inch arms, so he probably isn't going to play on the outside, and especially on this team with Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, he's not going to be asked to. But the Chargers went out, gave Mekhi Becton a year deal this offseason. They have Bradley Bozeman, who's under contract right now. This is going to be a very strong offensive line, and what do we know about Mr. Harbaugh up in Michigan? They had a very strong offensive line. So Gray Zabel, the Midwesterner, goes to Los Angeles.
Yeah, they like to win the line on both sides of the football. All right, let's go to the Green Bay Packers at 23, Andrew Erickson.
Wanted to get in on the Texas Longhorns fun. So Jahdae Barron, cornerback from Texas. With Green Bay, they lost a lot of guys in their secondary through free agency, and Jair Alexander is not reliable at this point. The guy is always banged up, so let's get a reset on the secondary. Strong cornerback.
I like the recent trend too. We never give the Packers any wide receivers, which just infuriates Pat and Morris on their show every single time.
Well, especially this year. This is not the year to do. I mean, this will be the year they do it. When there's no number one, they take
Pat
one.
Hasn't been on one of these shows in a couple weeks, and we've given 0 wide receivers.
I would attempt to turn a backflip if we took Jahdae Barron. I would be pretty excited about that.
Okay, so you're happy.
Yeah, we passed
as long as you're happy.
I got the
Packers passed on Cooper DeJean last year. Let's not make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. All right, Minnesota Vikings, Pat, at 24.
Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle, Michigan. The Vikings could certainly take either a cornerback or a safety here, but they could also use a young defensive tackle. They signed Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave in free agency, but both of those guys are over 30. Kenneth Grant is a young wrecking ball up front. I think it'll give Minnesota a strong defensive tackle rotation and make Brian Flores happy.
Before we make our next pick here, pick number 25 for the Houston Texans, if you're ready to win real money this April and you're struggling to choose which team will pull off an upset, forget about the teams. All you need to focus on are the player stats to rack up big cash prizes with DraftKings Pick 6. And when it comes to massive payouts, DraftKings dunks all over the competition Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. So you can track your picks for a shot to win a huge cash prize, and it's as simple as that. So download the DraftKings Sports Pick app right now. That's the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. Download it now. Use the promo code FANTASYPROS. That's promo code FANTASYPROS for new customers. You can get just $5 in there and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's get back to the draft here at 25. The Houston Texans are on the clock. Cody, I imagine we're back to the offensive line again.
Yeah, I was thinking about a couple different directions here, but when you look at what the Houston Texans have done this offseason, it's definitely been interesting. They let go of Laramie Tunsil, traded him to Washington. They moved Kenyon Green to the Philadelphia Eagles. A great tweet from our guy, Nate Tice from The Athletic. He said back when the Kenyon Green move happened, they got rid of the number 2 lowest ranked offensive lineman in pass rush win rate allowed. And actually what they acquired so far this offseason is the number 1 and the number 3 interior offensive lineman in pass rush win rate allowed. So if you're counting at home, that's the second worst they got rid of, and they gained the worst and the third worst in Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram on the inside. They also added Trent Brown at right tackle and Cam Robinson at left tackle, 2 guys that aren't starter quality right now in the NFL. So I'm not sure what Houston's really doing, but they're going to go out and get Donovan Jaxson from Ohio State, who's got super long arms, played left guard for Ohio State last year, can play right guard. And when Josh Simmons went down, another first-round consideration player at Ohio State, he played left tackle throughout the college football playoff. I love Donovan Jaxson here for the Houston Texans.
All right, Andrew Erickson, another offensive lineman off the board. So where the Rams do at 26?
Yeah, Cody mentioned his name, Josh Simmons. So the teammate of Donovan Jaxson. Look, Simmons was projected to be a top 10 pick as a tackle, potentially the best tackle in this year's class, but obviously got hurt last year. So I think he lines up really well with what the Rams are looking for. The Rams have established starters at both of the tackle spots. So this is an investment in the future. So they can kind of slow play Simmons coming back from his injury and get him ready to be a starter either at the end of 2025 or in 2026. So Matthew Stafford's an older quarterback. So keeping him upright, we know that's what the Rams have to do for them to make the playoffs and make some noise in the NFC.
The BPA Ravens at 27, Pat Fitzmaurice.
Yeah, the Ravens are going to do what they always do in the draft, Joe. They're going to sit back and catch the falling value with Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. Starks didn't have a great combine, and he's not the betting favorite to be the first safety off the board. That would be Nick Emanwari, who did have a great combine, but I think Starks is the better football player. He was just a major difference maker for the Georgia defense. And while safety might not look like a glaring need for the Ravens, this is a team that often has 3 safeties on the field. It lets them move Kyle Hamilton around as this chess piece. But it's just a classic BPA pick for the Ravens, best player available. And oh, by the way, among the Ravens' chief competitors in the AFC are the Buffalo Bills, who also need a safety and are picking 3 spots behind this pick. So this pick has the added bonus of taking 1 option off the Bills menu.
Look at the gamesmanship by Pat. 28, the Detroit Lions. Back to you, Cody.
I was thinking about going edge rusher here. A couple of guys that are important on the list that I could still go after. Instead, I'm going to go interior. Walter Nolan's available from Ole Miss, but I'm not going to go that direction. I'm not sure if he's a culture fit for the kneecap-biting Detroit Lions. I'm going to go with Derek Harmon, the former Michigan State Spartan, goes back to Michigan to join the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell.
Next up, the Washington Commanders at 29, Andrew Erickson.
I think they're going to look hard at the edge here with a pass rusher. So Dante Fowler Jr. left the team this year, but he led the team in sacks in 2024. So they need edge rush. And right now, to me, James Pierce Jr. from edge from Tennessee is the best guy on the board. And he's here because of off the field issues, right? When you Google James Pierce's name, the first thing that comes up is character concerns. Like that's the first thing that's accompanying his name. So it'll be interesting to see where he actually goes on draft night, depending on if he's on certain teams' boards or not. But here at 29, I think the Commanders take the bite, take the risk on a productive
Sometimes
player.
that risk pays off. I mean, look, we took that risk on Pat Fitzmaurice, and look how good he's been here at Fantasy Pros. Let's get to number 30 here. The Buffalo Bills are up next, Pat.
Yeah, as I mentioned a moment ago, the Bills do need safety help. They are going to take Nick Emanwari of South Carolina. Emanwari posted a perfect 10 relative athletic score, the best RAS of any safety to have tested at the combine since 1987. Emanwari needs to become a better tackler, but he's got a lot of potential.
That'll bring us to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31. Cody, you're up.
And the one thing that the Kansas City Chiefs needed coming out of the NFL season, coming off of that Super Bowl where Joe Thuney played left tackle and did not do it well, is left tackle. We're going to go Josh Connerly, tackle from Oregon. I've talked about the flat circle of the NFL draft on our daily show over at Roster Watch. And the flat circle of the NFL draft is guys that have been either pumped up for no reason or depressed for no reason. Connerly's been a guy that's been depressed into the second round. He's going to make his way into round one and be a Kansas City Chief.
And to close out the first round, the Philadelphia Eagles select who, Andrew Erickson?
Donovan Ezuraku, Boston College edge rusher. The rich stay rich with another pass rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles. Good luck, NFC.
There you have it. The dynasty continues to build over there. Let's get to round two here. The Cleveland Browns will start us. Cody, that's back to you.
The Browns are in an interesting spot here. They could be considering potentially a Jalen Milroe, a Tyler Shook from Louisville. We've heard that's not the direction they're probably going to go with Shook. They go back to the defensive line. They took Abdul Carter in round one. Why not continue to bolster that thing? Add Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, formerly of Texas A&M, a five-star prospect. This kid's going to eat in Cleveland. He's going to be mad it went off in round two.
Now, the Giants have picked number 34, but they are trading back, and it looks like New England is moving up here in this deal. So New England's going to receive this 34th pick in the second round, a 5th round pick as well, and then a 228. So let's talk about this one here. Cody, you're moving back up to New England, for New England, I should say, for what? What is it that has your eye where the Patriots just can't wait for it to slide?
So the biggest play here, and I reached out to the ownership of the New York Giants, and I said, you know what? I got to get up. I got to get up a couple spots. There's two teams I'm looking at in front of me, Tennessee Titans, Las Vegas Raiders, that could be looking at wide receiver. I got to make sure I get up. Vrabel's been around this Ohio State program the last year, and he wants a Emeka Egbuka. So we're going to go up to 34. We're going to get a Emeka Egbuka. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker did not work out in 2024.
No.
We need to make sure we got a guy in 2025.
All right, so that swap was the 34 here for the 38, and then swapping 5th round picks too. So that's what this one looks like. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans at 35. Pat Fitzmaurice, you're up.
That was an astute trade up because the Titans are looking at wide receivers. They're going to settle for Luther Burden, a wide receiver from Missouri. Titans have a lot of needs, but they have to get Cam Ward some weapons. And with Burden falling into the second round, the Titans are going to pounce here. A year ago, it seemed like Burden would inevitably be a top 10 pick, maybe even a top 5 pick when he came out. He's coming off a 1,200-yard sophomore season in the SEC, but his junior year wasn't that great. Wasn't all Burden's fault, but it's knocked down his draft stock a little bit. But man, this guy's a weapon, and he's going to help Cam Ward settle into the NFL by being a guy who can turn easy completions into big gains. Like Cam Ward tends to hold onto the ball too long, and Burden can help turn Ward into a quicker trigger. And guys, Cam Ward turned Miami slot receiver Xavier Restrepo into a college star. Restrepo is not very fast. Think of what Cam Ward might be able to do with a slot receiver like Burden, who has some serious wheels.
That brings us to the Jaguars at 36. Cody, you're back up.
The new Jaguars GM, James Gladstone, spent a lot of time with the Rams the last couple of years, and he's seen how that defense was rebuilt. They took Mason Graham at the top of the first, and here in round two, we're going to add a cornerback that's risen through the pre-draft process. Had a great pro day a couple weeks ago at Ole Miss. We're going to go Trey Amos to come in and play opposite of Tyson Campbell.
That's 37 now for the Las Vegas Raiders, Andrew Erickson.
Going to go to the running back position. You're going to go to Ohio State with Quinshon Judkins. He's going to reunite with Chip Kelly with the Las Vegas Raiders. We got an offensive tackle for the Raiders beefing up the offensive line. We know Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, they want to run the football, baby. And they need a bell cow running back. And I think that can be Judkins, which is why I went with him and not Travion Henderson, the other Ohio State running back. I think Judkins can be more of a 3-down back, and Chip Kelly knows what he can do. So I think that he would be a monster.
All right, at 38, now sit the Giants after that trade with the Patriots. Pat Fitzmaurice, that pick belongs to you for the Big Blue.
Giants are going to select linebacker Jahdae Campbell from Alabama. Just crazy value for the Giants. Some draft analysts have Campbell top 10 on their big boards. But Campbell did have surgery recently to repair a torn labrum, which might cause him to slide, and the Giants are going to stop the slide. It might not be their greatest area of need, but the Giants don't have a very athletic group of linebackers, and Campbell would certainly help with that. He's just too good to pass up here.
39 now sits the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 2 of the next 3 picks after that deal in the first round with the Chicago Bears. On day 1, it's amazing how time flies here. on this podcast. We've had a whole 24-hour cycle. We're in round 2. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their first pick of the 2025 draft. Now, Cody, what do they do with it?
It's not going to be a far trip. We're just going to go up to Florida State. We're going to get Azariah Thomas, the cornerback from the Seminoles. He's a guy that had a good pre-draft process at the Senior Bowl. I saw him. This guy's probably going to be in this top 50 range between 25 and 50. I wouldn't be shocked if he went anywhere in here. So the Bucs are happy to have traded down and get one position of need.
And now the New Orleans Saints, in between those Bucs picks at 40, Andrew Erickson.
Going to go Dick Scorton, edge from Texas A&M. Just want to get more edge rushers, more pressure for the Saints.
All right, before we get to the next selection here of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, again, 2 out of the first 3 here in this round, I want to let everybody know about our Discord, too. If you haven't already, this is the time to join, fantasypros.com/chat. It's free. You can talk with other fans about the NFL draft, about your fantasy teams. You can join dynasty leagues, redraft leagues. There's so many channels in our Discord, and our community continues to grow every single day. Plus, you get Fitz on a show, 5 p.m. Eastern, the first Tuesday of every month, and then Fitz and Bogman, 5 p.m. Eastern, in the last 3 Tuesdays in April. So look at that, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th, all the Fitz and Bogman you could possibly handle. So if you're trying to get some extra leg up on your competition or just want to talk some more ball, our Discord is the place to do it. Again, fantasypros.com/chat. That is the place to be. The next selection here, again, back to the Bucs, back to Cody for 41.
Historically, the edge position averages about 9.6 prospects that are at the edge position drafted in the first 2 rounds. I'm going to take the 8th one off the board here at pick 41, Braden Swinson from LSU, 6'4", 255 pounds, good athlete, didn't get a lot of recognition over the course of the last couple of months, but he's going to be a top 50 pick. Braden Swinson joins the Bucs.
At 42, sit the New York Jets. Pat Fitzmaurice, back to you.
Ariante Ursary, offensive tackle from Minnesota. He's the right tackle the Jets need. 6'6", 331 pounds, and has a relative athletic score of 9.48.
Andrew Erickson's up for the San Francisco 49ers at 43.
Going to go with cornerback Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky. They got to find a replacement for Charvarius Ward, so Harrison's the pick.
At 44, the New England Patriots sit now in this trade with Dallas in the first round. So Pat Fitzmaurice, the Pats are up here. They haven't addressed offensive line yet. They've taken wide receiver. They have already gone through as well, took a linebacker. So what is next for the Pats?
Yeah, this is going to be Jonah Savianaya, offensive lineman from Arizona. The Patriots have made 3 picks, or this is their 3rd pick, and it's
the 3rd, yeah.
Still haven't given them an O-lineman. Have to give them one here. Savianaya is a 3-year college starter who played both tackle and guard for Arizona. Better pass blocker than run blocker, but that's fine. Protecting Drake May is the top priority, so let's start rebuilding this offensive line.
Thank goodness. I was starting to sweat about that line. My goodness, I was worried. We finally got one. Okay, now we can move on. At 45, the Indianapolis Colts are up, and Cody, you are on the clock.
Everyone's worried about the Colts scoring points and being successful from the quarterback position, but what they've been kind of keyed into this offseason has been building up this back end. They had Cam Bynum from the Vikings in free agency at safety and Charvarius Ward from the San Francisco 49ers at cornerback. They're going to go back to cornerback right here with a pretty insane value from a guy from Notre Dame, Benjamin Morrison, 6 foot, 195 pounds, a guy that had a hip injury, season ending this season. I mean, if you rewind 8 months, we're talking about this guy in the top 15, Benjamin Morrison to the Colts.
At 46, the Atlanta Falcons are back. Andrew Erickson's up.
I could have gone with another edge rusher because the Falcons could continue to draft pass rush with every single draft pick just because it's such a glaring need on their roster. But I decided to opt for another defensive player, Darian Porter, cornerback from Iowa State. I want another strong presence opposite of A.J. Terrell. And I really like Darian Porter. I got a chance to talk to him at the NFL Scouting Combine, and he was super complimentary of his Iowa State wide receiver teammates. I asked him, hey, who's the toughest receiver that you would face? Jalen Nolt, Jaden Higgins. And then when we asked those receivers who the toughest defensive back that they faced, who do you think they said? I rest my case.
Darian Porter it is. All right, the Arizona Cardinals are back at 47. Pat Fitzmaurice.
Cardinals fans are not going to be happy if we don't give them a pass rusher in the first 2 rounds. So let's give them Landon Jackson, edge, Arkansas, an explosive athlete with pretty ample upside. He had a 9.78 relative athletic score at the combine. And, Cardinals, don't be mad if we don't give you an edge in the first round. There have been plenty of good day 2 edge rushers, Trey Hendrickson, Jonathan Grenard. So we'll give you one here, and you guys will be happy.
Patience, Cardinals fans. At 48, the Miami Dolphins are back, and Cody, you're up next.
I feel like a little bit of an awkward spot here for the Dolphins. A couple different directions I could go. Thinking about going wide receiver 3, but I'm going to stick on the interior, but I'm going to go defense. And we just talked about Landon Jaxson, who's got some very, very, very long arms, big wingspan. I'm going to stay with that. Alfred Collins, defensive tackle from Texas, 6'6", 332 pounds, massive 35-inch arms. This is a guy that didn't come onto the scene really until the latter part of the 2024 season, and he's grown himself into a second-round pick. He joins the Dolphins.
At 49, that brings Andrew Erickson back up for the Cincinnati Bengals.
We're going back to the defense, this time into the secondary, Siobhan Ravel, junior cornerback from ECU.
At 50, the Seattle Seahawks, Pat Fitzmaurice.
Marcus Bowe, offensive lineman, Purdue. The Seahawks got Ted McMillan in the first. Now they need to work on their O-line, so they're going to take Marcus Bowe, who's been a tackle at Purdue the last couple of years, but is probably going to be a guard in the NFL. He's very athletic, terrific run blocker, really good at moving and getting out to the second level. And by the way, the M in Marcus Bowe's last name is silent. It's just Bowe, not Embo.
There you go. Luckily, the Cody name, too, the C is not silent, so I'm going to actually pronounce it. Cody, you're up next. Denver Broncos, 51. What do you have?
Denver Broncos at 51. Thought about receiver here. Thought about getting really, really spooky with another pick, but I didn't do it. I didn't go get the Joker for Sean Payton in this offense. I'm going to go Tyleik Williams, defensive lineman from Ohio State, a guy that can play all over this defensive line for the Broncos, something that kind of took a major step forward in 2024, continues to do so with Tyleik Williams.
That brings us to the Seattle Seahawks at 52 and Andrew Erickson.
Continuing to bolster the interior offensive line, because if Sam Darnold doesn't have protection, then you got no shot, Seattle. So we're going to go with Jared Wilson, center from Georgia.
Tampa at 53 with their third pick in the second round. Pat Fitzmaurice, you're up.
Carson Schwessinger, linebacker, UCLA. 3 second-round picks for the Buccaneers in this draft, and we're giving them help at all 3 levels of the defense. They've gotten a DB. They've gotten an edge rusher. And look, the Bucs have some really old off-ball linebackers with Levante David and Anthony Walker Jr. David's 35. Walker turns 30 in August. Schwessinger's a baller. Ex-walk-on, who's now one of the best linebacker prospects in the draft.
At 54, the Green Bay Packers are up next. Cody, the pick is yours.
After we took Jahdae Barron in the first round, which is our 10th defensive back taken in the first 2 rounds over the last 11 drafts, we're going defensive line this time. We're going Darius Alexander. I'm not sure how he fell to me here at 54, but I'm ecstatic about it. I think Pat's ecstatic about it. He's a Packer fan as well. Mm-hmm. Darius Alexander from Toledo, come on down and join Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt.
As long as Pat's happy, we're all happy. Andrew Erickson, you're up next at 55 for the Chargers.
The Chargers still have a hole at running back. I know that they brought in Najee Harris to be the bruiser on early downs, but I think that they need a complement, what do you call it, Joe? A lightning to Najee Harris's thunder, and they're play for the Chargers. The Bolts, I mean, this is basically writing itself here for their marketing team. Please, Los Angeles Chargers, please contact me. I'll be happy to do some marketing for you. Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State. Famously, Henderson was heavily recruited by Harbaugh when he was at Michigan. So again, he's not opposed against Ohio State running backs. We saw it last year, J.K. Dobbins. He turns back the clock. It's a younger version of J.K. Dobbins and Travion Henderson, and you got a really fun back.
Okay. At 56, the Buffalo Bills are up next. Pat, that's yours.
Elic Ayamanor, wide receiver from Stanford. Bills could use some help at wideout. He gives the Bills another big outside receiver to go along with Keon Coleman. Buffalo was rotating 5 receivers last year, and if they win a 5-receiver rotation again, they can roll with Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel, and Ayamanor. And by the way, cold weather games in Buffalo probably aren't going to bother Ayamanor, whose hometown is Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Medicine Hat, Alberta. Oof. I got cold just thinking about that. Let's get to the Carolina Panthers at 57. They went defense earlier, so Cody, do they have the ability to go offense with this pick?
Man, as much as we all love Xavier Legette, and I think as much as we all want to try raccoon meat, I don't know if they really believe that Xavier Legette is the true number one. Dave Canales kind of beat around the bush this week down there at owner meetings. I don't know if I'm sold on that. Jalen Coker's great from Holy Cross. He's a number 2. Adam Thielen's coming back for age 40 season and 45, something like that. They're going to add Jalen Knoll, one of the 2,000-yard receivers from Iowa State this year, a guy with some upside that can play in the slot on day one. And if an injury happens to Leggett like it has the last 6 seasons, I think you're going to see Knoll take a step up. So Jalen Knoll, wide receiver, Iowa State.
All right, Andrew Erickson, back to you for the Houston Texans at 58.
I think Houston could use a little bit more depth on the interior of their defensive lines. I'm going to go with Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle from Florida State.
The BPA Ravens at 59, Pat Fitzmaurice.
JT Tuimoloau, edge, Ohio State. I swear I went for every hard to pronounce name in this round.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said it because I have to tell you, Pat, MVP for you for some of the picks you made in terms of pronunciation today. You did not just pass over a guy just because you took every tough pronunciation and you nailed it. Good for
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, the Ravens, this is almost kind of a need pick. The Ravens could use another edge player, and Tuimoloau is a good one.
Sure is. Whatever you say. At 60, the Detroit Lions are up next. Cody, back to you. I'm joking, but in 2 weeks I'm gonna have to learn everyone's name, and I'm just coming off baseball shows, so I mean, this is gonna be a long week of prep for me to get everything ready. So let's get pronunciations. Maybe there's an easy one here, Cody. You want to throw at me?
Isn't that Tuimoloau? It's kind of close to like Tulowitzki. Isn't that a baseball player?
It's no Tuiasosopo, but
I don't do baseball.
Either Detroit
Lions
Tulowitzki
here.
most of the time.
Yes, hey, I remember that name. I know he's pretty solid. 60 here for the Detroit Lions. I took Derek Harmon in round 1 for the interior of the edge, or interior of the defensive line. They obviously have Aiden Hutchinson coming off of an injury. They want to get a maniac from South Carolina in that with Kyle Kennard, a guy that played opposite of Dylan Stewart this year, who got a lot of the conversation being a true freshman and being a complete menace in the SEC. Kyle Kennard was the leader in that room, and he's the perfect number 2 edge rusher for the Detroit Lions.
At 61, the Washington Commanders, Andrew Erickson, you're up.
Should I have Fitz do this one because he's the expert at all the?
If you would like to pass, you
No.
can.
I've been practicing. Oluwafemi, Oladejo,
Very nice.
edge from UCLA. I got the pronunciation guide, Joe. I can send it to you.
I'll need it in a week.
It's official. But I think that this is an underrated edge rusher in this class. I think that the NFL likes him a lot more than the draft complex. The Commanders sent basically their entire coaching staff to UCLA's pro day, and I think it was to look at Femi. So I think we hear him called earlier than 61, but I'm going to connect him here to the Commanders.
Okay, another trade here at 62. This was Buffalo. Now it's not. Who has moved up here? Cody, let's get the trade in here for 62 for, it looks like the Las Vegas Raiders moving up.
Not your typical quarterback expectation for a Tom Brady-led franchise. But when he falls to this spot at pick 62, and you already have Armand Membou, you have Quinshon Judkins, just build the trifecta, build the thing up. Take your quarterback here at the end of round 2, trading up from 68 to 62 to get Jalen Milroe from Alabama, a guy that I, in all honesty, don't believe is a year away. I think he's more of like 2 years away, but you got Geno Smith to help build that thing, and you can attach it to Pete Carroll. We'll see what happens. Jalen Milroe is the pick at 62, so the Raiders could get ahead of the Cleveland Browns to top round 3.
Joe,
and in this trade, Buffalo receives a 68th pick overall and pick number 143. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just going to explain the terms in case Bill fans were apoplectic that they dealt out of the pick and didn't know what they were getting. So,
all right, every pick goes through the office here, and then Pat Fitzmaurice has to approve it. There's a whole process we go through. 63, 2 picks left here in the show. Cody, back to you for the Chiefs.
This is an interesting one. Not a name that a lot of people, I think, are prepared to see come off the board in round 2. But Savion Williams is a true maniacal athlete in this class at TCU. 6'2", 6'3", 225 pounds, hyper athlete. If Cordell Patterson had a son that was already 22 years old, it'd be Savion Williams. That's what this guy is. To me, he grades out better as a running back, but they got him as a receiver. He can do the thing and create space. And when you look at this Kansas City offense, you got Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy, and some failed experiments in Justin Ross and Sky Moore, and Juju's there. Throw Savion in here. Let him play some running back. Let him play some receiver. Savion Williams at the end of round 2 for the Chiefs.
All right, that's a fun one. That's a name we haven't talked about too much yet. All right, here we go again. End of the second round. Andrew Erickson, leave us off on a high note at 64 for the Eagles.
Oh, I will, and I'll lead it off with my only trade from this this draft exercise. But I'm not trading picks. I'm trading players.
Oh.
I'm trading Dallas Goedert to the Chargers, and that makes a hole for the Philadelphia Eagles at 64. So they draft Mason Taylor, tight end from
Look
LSU.
at that. Wheeling and dealing. So what did you all think of some of the trades and some of the moves? Certainly a lot of fun here. Drop your comments below on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Fantasy Bros YouTube channel as well. Ring the bell till it goes ding. And join us on draft nights 1 and 2 live here on your device. Or just put us up on the big screen. We're very handsome fellows around here. Put us up on the big screen and put the NFL draft on the small screen, because we're going to be breaking down all the picks the way you need them for your fantasy teams, because that's what's important at the end of the day. Cody Carpentier, fantastic stuff as always. Thank you for coming in, especially on short notice, on a short week. My God, he's so good. He doesn't need any buys. He's just the man. Go check out all of his work at RosterWatch and everywhere else he's working too. Gentlemen, great to see you as well. Pat Fitzmaurice. You can send me all the pronunciation guide after the show. And Andrew Erickson. Look at you, trading Dallas Goedert away. Eagles fans, yell at him in the comments below. I can't wait to hear all that.
I'm dealing like this is how he's going to do. This is how he. This is
well,
how
he's got
he
what,
deals.
20
He's
picks
30
in
years
the
old.
next
He's
2 years.
He's old, washed.
This.
He's always 1 year ahead.
Hey,
of
that's how
another
the Patriots
year. That's
stayed a dynasty for 20 years. Getting rid of players when you like.
That's how they used to be
Well,
good, and now they trade Joe. Now all they do is trade Joe Milton for nothing.
Hey,
That's what they
There
do.
you go. Well, more on that later to come, but that'll do it for us. However, the story of the game goes on for Pat and Cody and Andrew. I'm Joey P. See you next time, kids.